There is one message that you are not going to see or even hear about in real estate social media ads, and that is that the market is indeed slowing down. But I come with receipts. I have proof that the market is slowing down, three key stats. So let's look at proof number one that the market is starting to turn. First one is number of sales. What I've done is I took the number of sales that have happened in the first 2 weeks of June. So we are this number here. This is the 5 big regions I usually focus on, by the way: Halton, Peel, Toronto, York, and Durham. So number of sales in the first 2 weeks of June, and I'm going to compare them to keep things fair to the first 2 weeks of May and the first 2 weeks of April. So if you look at, let's say, for example, Peel, we've had 544 homes sold so far in the first 2 weeks of June, and that is nowhere close to what was happening in the busiest month we've had so far this year, which was May, 759. We are even slower than what was happening in April, which was 641. Same thing with Toronto. Toronto, we are sitting at 1,076 homes sold so far, and that is a lot slower than 1,547 and even slower than April. Every single region right now is slower than they were in May and even in April. Proof number two, available listings. So this is not the key stat. I mean, it's good that there's more inventory on the market, so it's something, buyers have less panic. So that's good if you're a buyer. If you're a seller, you want to see this number as low as possible, obviously. So right now there's a decent amount of number of listings available in every single region, but that's not the key stat. The key stat is this one here. How many of them have been on the market for longer than 2 weeks? Because as we all remember, everything was flying off the shelves only a month ago. But this is a number you don't see mentioned in social media ads because it does not make the market look good at all. Over half the listings in every single region, over 50% of them, have been on the market for longer than 2 weeks. Now, you don't hear about this, and you only hear about the stuff that sells in 3 days for, $500,000 over asking, but it's there. These are the stats. These are not my numbers. This is actual stats that I think you need to be aware of. Proof number three. Proof number three is new listings. As we all remember, ever since February, March, April, and May picked up a little bit in terms of new listings, but ever since February, March, April, there was nothing to choose from. There were no listings. Every single buyer was in panic mode and a lot of FOMO going on. People were just jumping at whatever they could get. But finally, new listings started to pop up in May. I showed you guys that before in the monthly update. And now that's gone up even more. More and more new listings are hitting the market. If you compare same thing as before, the first 2 weeks of June, this is how many new listings popped up on the market. If you compare that to the first 2 weeks of May and first 2 weeks of April. By the way, this number took me a long time to figure out because this is not readily available until the end of the month. So it took a lot of matlock work, but I was able to figure this out. So if you guys like this stuff, please like and subscribe because it takes me a long time to prepare this stuff. But sometimes it's helpful. It's good to know what's happening in the market, right? So if you look at number of new listings in the first 2 weeks of June, let's say Brampton, for example, we're sitting at 689 new listings. Compare that to May, 579. Compare that to April, 492. Same thing with, let's say, for example, Vaughan. There were only 266 new listings that came up, then jumped up to 364. Now we're sitting at even higher, 366. Same thing with Burlington, 240 new listings, higher than May, higher than April. So new listings are going up if you compare to May and April, and number of sales are going down if you compare to May and April. But why is this happening? Maybe you can leave me a comment down below. Like, what is your feedback? Because I know a lot of smart people watch these videos. So what do you think this is happening? Like, why is this starting to turn? I could think of two possible reasons. Number one, spring season. Spring is always the busiest time of the year. I know when I made that video a couple of months ago that spring will slow down eventually. I got laughed at, and that's okay. But spring season is over, and number two is the bigger reason, Bank of Canada. Bank of Canada just raised their rates. Now, if you want to look at like this one here, reason number one, spring season, I present this chart every once in a while. If you compare what happens in spring versus what happens in the winter time, I took 3 random years, 2010, 2018, 2019. You can see here every single year, the busiest time is springtime. March, April, May, and then a little bit into June. Then it slows down July, August, September. It picks up a little bit for one last kick at the can. That is the fall market. Then it starts to slow down for Christmas, December and January being the slowest months of the year. So that happens every single year. Some years it's a bit more drastic because the market is insane. So some years this number might spike up a little bit more, but every single year it starts to come down around summertime. Second possible reason is that the Bank of Canada just raised the rate once again. So it's not that the 0.25 is going to make a huge difference in terms of affordability. It's sentiment. If people lose confidence that the market is going to keep going up and up, which is what was happening only 2 months ago, people thought the market's just going to go crazy. So I better get in soon before it's too late. So that was, FOMO, right? Like a lot of people just jump back in. But if people feel that the market is going to go down, or if it's going to calm down, a lot of people just sit back and wait. So I think that is what's going to happen in the next few months. People are just going to sit back and wait. And what does that mean for sellers and buyers? If you are a seller and you have been kind of on the fence about selling, I would probably sell sooner than later because the market is starting to turn. By no means is this a need to panic because everything is still in favor of the home sellers, especially the number one thing, price. Prices are still going up. So you're still fine, so sellers don't need to panic, but it's something to kind of consider. Buyers, good news, right? Buyers have been they have been so frustrated, so angry at the market. Finally, there is some good news. Sales are going down, new listings are coming up. So buyers, please don't take this as a sign that, hey, now I'm going to be able to get like those desperate sellers. I'm going to get a $1.2 million house for $700,000. That's not going to happen. So please don't think of this as like it's time to go bargain hunting. That's not the case. What does this mean is that there is going to be more inventory to choose from, which means less panic. So that's good news, right? So I think that's all you can take if you're a buyer. If you guys need any help buying or selling, or if you have any questions, please call or text this number and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.